From the E-News desk, let's take a look at your headlines at exactly 6:30. Graça Machel fully supported the court bid to force Nelson Mandela's grandson Mandla to return the remains of 3 Mandela children to Qunu. Mandla challenged his aunt Makaziwe Mandela to supply proof that all 15 family members were knowingly part of the case against him. Makaziwe stated that Madiba always wanted to be buried in Qunu, next to the graves of his 3 children. And ENCA is in possession of affidavits from 12 of the family members, including one from Graça Machel, that support Makaziwe's claims. Government's demanding Eskom comes up with a plan to keep the lights on. The request comes after it emerged that Phase 1 of the Medupi power plant won't be completed by its December deadline. Public Enterprises says the parastatal must ensure the electricity supply is not interrupted. It will also penalize those responsible for the delays. The slaying of a Johannesburg senior cop was a hit. Now that's according to the state's charges against 4 people arrested for the murder of Gauteng police officer Tirani Maswanganyi. His body was found in a veld outside Pretoria last month. The only items missing were his 2 cell phones. It remains unclear how the accused could be connected to the top cop. The state, however, believes there is merit in investigating a premeditated killing. The 4 applied for bail and have been remanded in custody until Friday. The war against rhino poaching rages on. 3 suspected poachers nabbed in Limpopo at the weekend will appear in court soon. The 2 Mozambican nationals and a South African face charges of illegal possession of firearms and ammunition. They will also answer to a charge of conspiracy to rhino poaching. Around 450 rhino have been poached in South Africa since the start of the year. More than 600 rhino were killed last year. And finally, an Australian surfer got much more than he bargained for this week. His quiet morning riding waves at Bondi Beach took an alarming turn when he got up close and personal with a pod of whales, as you can see there on screen. The giant southern right whale flipped its tail, knocking the surfer off his board and unconscious. Lifeguards and other surfers dragged him safely back to shore. Those are your headlines from the E-News desk. There's more news at 7. Let's go to Faith now. It's got a look at your traffic as well as what's coming up on the show.
Thank you very much for that, Mark. Well, on my other side, I'm joined by young people from ENKE, an organization that we're going to be chatting about in just a moment. And Cindy's going to be interviewing these young, progressive young people, actually, I should say. On my one side, I've got Sizwe Nxumalo, who actually is from Alberton. And he drove all the way from Alberton this morning. How was the traffic? No traffic, no?
Yeah, the traffic was, no traffic really. I wish every drive to Joburg was like this. Of course, if you have an early rise, then you can expect such great things.
Definitely. Sarah, could you do this often, the waking up?
I could. I'm normally an early riser. Like, I get up early to study, so I could manage. And it was nice with the traffic, as Sizwes said.
They're looking so bubbly this morning, so we'll be hearing from them in just a moment. But for now, Lee, I hear that on the N3 North, in fact, near the cement factory, there's actually an accident that happened there. What are the developments on that story? Good morning to you.
Yes, a very good morning, Faith. Good morning, everyone. That's right. A police vehicle involved in that collision just past the N12 near the cement factory on the northbound. It's got the traffic queuing already from Alberton side, backed up and struggling on the N12 to get through the Eland interchange. So that's a bit of a hot spot. And, of course, a police vehicle involved, so it might take some time to clear. Anticipate that run if you're leaving Alberton this morning. Heading into Benoni, there's roadworks on the eastbound between Tom Jones and the Snake that can get busy as well. A truck is overturned on the R21 south, just past Pomona Road before the Atlas Road exit.
My Well, if you've just emerged from sleep, good morning and welcome to Sunrise. It's lovely to have you. And it's almost 22/7. Now, ENKE Make Your Mark is an education-based social networking initiative which seeks to equip young South Africans with leadership skills, inspiring them to take control of their future through projects targeted at students in high schools and higher learning institutions. To speak more on this, we're joined by Sizwe Nxumalo, who is the youth representative and the board of directors at ENKE, as well as Sarah Lowther, a matriculant who's an alumni of the organization. And as always, we invite your calls on 011-537-9337 or 9338. You can also reach us on Facebook. And Twitter, good to have you guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
So let's just put the whole thing into context. ENKE Make Your Mark, where it originates from, who formulated this platform?
Okay, so ENKE Make Your Mark was founded in 2009 by 3 founders who were basically volunteers working in KZN in under-resourced schools. And basically, they lived in a suburb in KZN but worked in Mlas. And basically realized that there was a disconnect between the young people there and the people where they lived, because people were just like, how could you work in a township? Aren't you scared? Isn't it dangerous? And basically the idea was there's a disconnect between young people of different socioeconomic, who live in, from socioeconomic contexts. And I mean, you're going to have leaders emerge from every single one of those contexts. And if people have no understanding of their lived experience, it's hard to get consensus about where this country should go. So it started from that. So the idea of bringing young people together from diverse communities. But then it's like, so what if they're together? The point is to then equip them and say, everyone has issues in their community at large. And these problems, young people are always seen as apathetic, and therefore, you know, we inspire them and push them to do something about the issues they identify in their communities.
Yeah, but it does seem like it's an interactive program, but you need to have the desire to want to have a significant impact in your community. And it's interesting that you've only met today, and you were an alumni of the program, and Sizwe, of course, being on the board and being the youth representative. So, Sarah, what drew you to ENKE Make Your Mark?
I've always enjoyed helping people and making a difference. And one of the past pupils that I know has also been on this program, and I spoke to her about it a lot. And she just said that it gave you such a platform and gave you the skills in order to create and run your own program. And I got to meet, like you said, a lot of people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. And just the different problems that everyone's facing, like things that we take for granted are things that they don't even know about. And it was a real eye-opener just to see how much work there is to do to bring people together in order to make a difference in this country.
Okay, so we've dealt with the overarching mission of what the program aims to achieve. Let's get into the nitty-gritties, exactly how it works. Is there an application process? How do you identify the schools? Which projects do you find more feasible?
Okay, so like I said, we have 2 programs. So there's a varsity one and a high school program. So for the high school program, we have partner organizations that we work with to identify these students. So typically, there's a couple of corporates who have maths and science programs for high school kids from largely disadvantaged communities. But the trouble is those only have an academic focus and not leadership and the idea of entrepreneurship and taking action. So those programs then select kids from their particular programs to come onto ENKE. And then we also encourage students to apply independently, like Sarah did, to come join the cohort. And basically, like I said, the high school program kicks off with something called the ENKE Forum, which happens during the winter months in both Joburg and Cape Town. And there, it's a week-long process where they're in a space where they do intense development and training and get to...
So it's not like a boot camp. Is it actually fun at some point? Or do you deal with the hard-hitting issues?
No, it was like the way they broke it down was we did a lot of team-building stuff in the first couple of days, like icebreakers. And so everyone just is on equal ground. Like we all make fools of ourselves, so we all laugh together. And then you actually get down to it and you start breaking down the real issues in your community to find the root cause. Because that's what you're going to address, the root cause, because you can't obviously attack the whole solution, like the whole problem. You need to find something that within your resources that you can target, and they helped us do that.
Yeah. But you have to have young people who are motivated, to have the epiphany, to want to make a difference again, and to be committed and dedicated to what they're doing, Sizwe. So how do you monitor and measure and make sure that the programs that have been put forward are actually implemented?
Okay, so we have a couple of things that we do. So firstly, we actually check on all of our alumni So basically, you don't become an alumni until you've implemented or tried to implement a project. And basically, after the forum, which happens in June, there's 9 months in which they have to complete their project. And we check on them monthly, and they have to report via SMS. But we also have a CAP hotline. So these things are called community action projects, CAPs for short.
Yeah.
And we have a CAP hotline where they can call into if they need trouble, if they need help with something, someone they've identified who's important to making their project happen that they'd like us to connect them to. And we also have a small fund that they can apply to for funding to make their project happen. And at the end of that, we have an alumni sort of celebration event where we bring all the people together who've tried to implement projects to one room again, and they share stories about each other's experiences of what it was like to actually take action and what were the lessons and the challenges.
Yeah, but I mean, it's death by initiatives and projects and all sorts of things, because we are a developmental country where things always have to be either started up or reinvigorated or whatever. Yeah. But so with this initiative, what for you was different if you had participated in similar forums or programs? So how did this stand out for you?
Well, what was different about ENKE was it was a whole group of people from different backgrounds. And in a lot of the other things I've done, we were all from similar backgrounds. So we were all facing similar problems. And with ENKE, it provided a perspective on the different problems that everyone faces. And it just gave me an opportunity, like a bigger view on the different things that we need to fix in this country. And it allowed me to more effectively create my project in order to try and solve some of those issues.
Okay, so we'll talk about your project more in depth. But it's interesting you say problems, and in government it's known as challenges or challenges. We'll get back to your project in a short bit. But Faith is standing by now, and she's got all your messages on Facebook and Twitter, and you can follow us, Facebook.com/.etv Sunrise.
Thank you very much for that, Cindy. Now, interesting views coming out about the initiative ENKE, Make Your Mark. South Africans were asked on Facebook, what do they think of this initiative? And some interesting comments coming out. One from Zipuwe Dube saying that it's a good initiative. Let's hope that it will help all the youth because they are the leaders of tomorrow. Vusmuzi saying that hope one day we're going to see good leaders coming out of this initiative. And Taylor saying that that will be a good initiative for young people of our country. Maluleke Savulani saying that I think it is a good initiative for us young South Africans to learn about leadership from high school level as well as tertiary level. Siabulela saying that it is a great organization because it can play a big role in teaching and showing young people about leadership so that we can have young leaders and entrepreneurs, but good deeds in our countries get less media exposure, unlike bad ones. So he was just highlighting a little bone of contention there about the need for us as the media as well to actually publicize and make known organizations like this who are trying to build good leaders. And lastly, Alekgotla Matlela saying that the great initiative to develop them on the early phase and like in high school and to know what to expect in the ideal world. So speaking a lot about equipping young people from a high school level so that they can understand the intricacies as well as the reality of the outside world. So interesting comments coming up there, but back to you in the studio, Cindy.
Definite affirmation and endorsement of the program, but we were talking about what you do. What was your initiative and how did you come up with the concept?
My original idea was to bring girls together from different backgrounds and use sport as a medium in order to get them to get to know each other and in order to show them that they aren't as different as they think they are, and to hopefully remove some of the stereotypes that different people have, because there are plenty of stereotypes. And I chose this because I believe that sports is a medium that can be used in order to bring people together. Because in order to achieve the main goal in different sports, like in order to win, you have to work as a team. So eventually you have to put aside your differences and work together and use different people's strengths and weaknesses. And I thought by using netball that these girls would be able to learn from each other, and use their different strengths and weaknesses, and they'd be able to see that they can actually work together in order to achieve an ultimate goal.
Yeah. So the cohorts, from what my understanding is, that you generally bring people together who have very little in common besides, their day-to-day socioeconomic issues, and then you break the barriers so that you come out with a solution that is applicable generally to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is basically to just get to understand diverse lived experiences. Because a lot of the time, if you're a middle-class kid who comes from a suburb, that's your entire like network of people generally who look and sound like you and generally have similar aspirations to you. So the idea is to make people interact and find out about each other. But also, like I said, you know, we focus on, the idea is everyone has different problems. So for instance, poverty might not really be an issue for her community, but it is for someone else. And so the idea is saying that all problems, we need to attack the problems that are close to us and that we have the resources to do so. But that doesn't mean what we see in our community is the only thing there is. So that's the importance of having that diversity.
Okay. So with the netball, do you have tournaments? How often do you meet up with the other girls? How many of them are in this particular project that you're running?
My plan was to have a weekend holiday program, and it was in order to bring girls, like specifically from my school, which is a private school, and girls from a school in Zandspruit. But it was a bit complicated because that didn't end up working. So what I ended up doing was just using something that building onto something that I already do, which was a weekly netball coaching session with an underprivileged school right near my school. And the bringing together kids from different backgrounds would be having like other high school students like myself coach these girls. Because although there would be a different age gap, because the girls that we were coaching are in primary school, it's still, you get to speak to them and you get to know them, like the challenges that they're facing. And we get to speak to them and say the stuff that we're facing. And it was just like an eye-opener. And it was it's a weekly thing, and it has been going for a while.
Yeah.
And we just developed this, and we involved more girls. So now it's from 1 to 7, and grade 1 to 7. And we also, the school also does a lot of different sports. So there's soccer, there's netball, there's hockey, there's drama, there's art, and there's swimming in the summer months. So all of these are run by different people, and we've just grown and developed the program into something that can affect as many people as possible.
Yeah, I've got a renewed sense of confidence and faith in this country. If the young leaders that are sitting in front of me here are anything to go by, but you can share your thoughts with us. Give us a ring. I believe we have a caller. You're calling us from Johannesburg. Hello?
Hi, how are you, Cindy?
Good, thank you.
I'm good, thanks. I just have a question for Sizwe. I stumbled through a video that he once did, and on it he says that our education system does not give an answer to our socio-economic context. What exactly did he mean by that?
All right, thanks, Lebo.
Okay, so what did I mean by that? I basically meant that it's very possible to go through an entire, like 12 years of high school, 12 years of primary education, as well as tertiary education in this country, and still be blind and ignorant of what the issues in this country are. For example, I've studied economics, and I just finished my honors degree last year.
Wow.
And one of the critiques, and one of the critiques that I've always had was that, you know, how is it possible that I have an honors degree in economics from one of the best institutions supposedly in this country, yet not once did we ever address any of the economic challenges of this country? Like, you know, like the engineers in this country, like in their training, does it ever occur to them? It's like, what are the spatial patterns and problems in this country that are from our history, and how can they be addressed? So for me, I feel like if you have an education that alienates people from their context, it's great for earning a great income at the end of it. But like as a country, in order to tackle some of the problems that we have, if your education, like if we rely on people to find that information themselves, I think we're actually just undermining people's ability to actually contribute to taking this country forward.
Yeah, but how do we bridge that gap? Because as you're saying, that education as well, if you're privileged enough to access private education, that it is almost regarded as an elitist privilege and divisive as well to those that don't have the same benefits. So how do we bridge that gap, Sarah?
Well, I think like with university applications and stuff, the different quotas definitely help in order to give people from different racial backgrounds to bridge the gap from the advantages that they've had in the past. But there's also like programs like ENKE provide us with an opportunity to come up with our own solutions, so things that we think are wrong, and we're the ones that are busy experiencing them. So personally, I think we stand the best chance in fixing it because we have the personal experience and we know exactly what needs to be fixed. So programs like ENKE provide us with the skills and the knowledge and the support in order to try and implement some of these changes and to start from younger ages.
All right, so just in wrapping up, some of the problems obviously would have to deal with education, healthcare, all the other primary pillars that are often spoken about in a document, or anecdotally. So what, in your view, is top of the agenda in terms of priority that needs to be fixed in this country if we have leadership watching?
Personally, for me, I think the fundamental issue is basically if you're smart, bright-eyed, energetic, and seen to be very successful in this country, it's seen basically there's no incentive to work in public service. So for me, if you have a country where your best talented people basically have a disincentive and are seen as underachieving if they go into public service, then where are you going to get in any of those issues? Because they're all largely not issues where there's a market for, so therefore there's very little private sector incentive. So, you know, if we still see it as, oh, if you go work for Auditor General as an accounting grad, oh, you obviously couldn't get into the Big Four, there's a problem there. So that value system about the importance of public service for me is something we need to change.
Yeah, and we definitely need more professionals in the public service. But a quick message of encouragement to young people who are watching this morning.
It is very difficult in order to start a change and to keep it going. Like, there are a lot of people that are going to be like, you're too young and you don't know what you're talking about, you haven't experienced the real world. But it is possible, and if you work hard enough and if you find a support system that will help you to keep going, and when times get tough, be there to inspire you, you will eventually see that you are making a difference, and that's the most inspiring thing of all.
All right, for more information, you can go to www.enke.co.za. That's www.enke.co.za. Over to you, Faith.
Now, I don't know about you, but my spirit was certainly lifted this morning with a performance from Lebo, and she will be performing in just a moment, performing Tsietsi. As I'm looking forward to that performance, and do look forward to that performance as well, so that you can start off your day on quite a rejuvenated vibe. But of course, Sunrise always gives you an opportunity to win something, because every week, the 3 lucky Sunrise viewers will each win a double Edblow royalty base set valued at 2,999 Rand each. To find out more about the latest base sets and other great specials, visit their website www.priceandpride.co.za or go like them on facebook.com/priceandpride. And today's question is, who is currently the world's #1 men's tennis player? If you think you know the answer to the question, SMS RISE Edblow your name and answer to 34865. That's RISE Edblow your name and answer to 34865. But for now, take it away, Lebo.